So last week, we were talking about Draymond Green. It might have even been on Friday.
It's always a fun game.
I can't remember, but we were talking. I said something like, man, Draymond Green's probably had the best week of his NBA career in about 2 years just because of his play and what he was saying and his leadership.
Yep.
Friday night, he gets ejected. He holds on to Zach Edey's leg, and he ends up getting a flagrant one. Now he's on his podcast saying the Grizzlies are soft and they're creating a culture that's too emotional. And if you remember, Goo, I said on Friday, okay, right now, would you bet that Draymond Green can keep this up, meaning the leadership, the play, et cetera? Like, is this who he's going to be? And I think I said for now, or we'll see.
That's a 2.
But my first question is, like, does this count as anything on the Draymond Green ledger?
All right. I love this, the ledger talk. And before I answer, Steiny, I'm getting destroyed on the text line because people are saying I'm buying what Draymond is selling because he's talking about a code and he's going to the podcast doing the exact opposite.
You've been very high on Draymond since you looked in his eyes.
I'm not trying to be Johnny Cochran. He doesn't need me to defend him. What I'm marveling at is his perspective on things. The Edey, you're teaching him how to be soft.
I don't care.
I know, but I do that
his
stuff.
Perspective.
Yeah, I do though.
I care about how he's fitting into the Warriors organization and whether or not you believe he can turn over a new leaf and was beginning to.
I don't believe this is, and you gave me this in the bet. That's why I hadn't paid up. But I spent it Friday. But I'll tell you this. I told you getting ran would not constitute the bet being over. We're talking about suspension.
I don't have a problem with him getting thrown out with 8 seconds left. But when I read this story about what Memphis is politicking to have happened,
then he reacts this way publicly, I'm like, I wish Dre maybe would have held on to it, but I can still marvel at it. But now I feel like tonight the refs are going to be, okay, he's back. We're going to call a tight whistle on you.
The one thing that I just thought of is, so last year Draymond got suspended for, I think, 5 games.
Almost a year ago, yeah.
And then obviously was suspended indefinitely.
That hurt.
Okay. So now we come into a new year, all right? And he plays 10 games and everything's fine. Now he gets a foul where he holds on to Edey's leg. They upgrade it to a flagrant 1. And I just thought to myself, well, let's say another player had done that and the league would have said, you know what, we might want to suspend him here. Could the league really suspend Draymond Green right now for 1 game? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Last year he had 5 and an indefinite. There's been a lot of talk about, what happens the next time. Well, if the next time is just a 1-game suspension, like, okay, I guess we're not looking at past events. That's the one thing I'd be worried about if I were a Warrior fan. If and when Draymond Green does something, will what happened last year impact the decision, or will he just begin to start it 1 game, 5 the next? And I think the more I think about it, it's going to be tough for the league to suspend Draymond 1 game after everything that's happened last year, particularly because in recent press releases, they've specifically put in there that past actions are a factor when they determine punishment.
Yeah, no doubt. And let's put it right on the table early, Steiny, brought to you by Atco Pest Control. How do we know that's not happening right now? Because it would be a bad look from the NBA if he were to get suspended for that infraction Friday, because I'd be like, well, what the hell is taking so long? But if they're taking into account what this would look like and where this thing would go, and it having to be more than 1 game, I'm starting to wonder maybe if he has some Geico, the fact that it is Dre, that, you said in real time it wasn't a technical. So I just think it would be a bad look now if the NBA doubled back after the complaining of Memphis and came down with some form of a punishment.
I don't think he's going to get penalized at all for that any more than he already has, which is a flagrant 1 and whatever the fine is that comes with that. But I'm just wondering what.
The protocol.
Yeah. Well, and I'm also wondering how Warrior fans viewed that game on Friday and what happened.
Did you see it in real time? I didn't. I had to go because it was so close to the end. I had to go back.
I checked the replay and then watched the replay a bunch of times. You know what? People might be surprised at this. Especially the people that think I don't like Draymond Green. I feel like whenever that happens in basketball, guys get tangled up, they always try to grab something and hold the other guy up. They kind of do.
But
it's
he was headed the other way.
They pretend to get all tangled up. And
like he did Sabonis and stomped on him.
No, that's different. He stomped on his chest. Different. I'm talking about guys get tangled up, the play starts moving up the court, and now both players are trying to mess with each other.
Zach thought he was running freely.
Yeah, I think
so. That's why it was. I'm being real here. That's why it could have been dangerous.
But he never could run freely because his foot was always lodged between it and Draymond.
Like, I don't think he knew Dre had his foot, Steiny, and that's what makes this dangerous. And I'm going to defend Dre on the Sabonis.
Flagrant one is fine.
He could have made the argument that I was getting ready to run. I didn't know dude was right behind me when I pushed down or stomped down. So
I disagree. I think if you look at the tape from both, the Sabonis stomp to me is significantly worse.
Well, I'm not. It is. But I'm just telling you, Edie did not know Dre was going to hold his foot when he took off trying to run. What if his Achilles would have, what if he got majorly, then what are we talking about? Then it's amped up times 1,000.
And you know what? That's the other thing. Yeah. Oh, a guy could get hurt on that play. Okay, when's the last time a guy got hurt on a play like that? Hey, come on. So that's just like, it's almost kind of...
You're sounding like Dre is, and it's not a bad thing.
That kind of play doesn't bother me.
So Dre is okay in what he was saying then?
Saying or doing?
No, when he's talking about what Memphis is looking like by politicking for something to come down on him on something that now you say is kind of trivial.
No, I said a flagrant one's fine.
Oh, all right, got you.
Flagrant one's fine for that. I don't think it should have been more. It's almost like...
suspension talk is ridiculous.
That's what I think.
And Draymond does too.
I mean, that's what I think. Let's go to Chris in San Jose. What's going on, Chris? How you doing?
Hey, what's happening, Steiny? Spadoni played me. I mean, I tried to say I was Matthew Steinmetz from Reading, Pennsylvania, but hey, if Chris San Jose gets me to the front of the line, that'll work too.
Chris.
You know, Steiny, I think that with Draymond, death, taxes, and Draymond getting a suspension due to his ego and arrogance is a given. Those are the three given things in my life as a Warrior fan. So this, you know, and him, he's just so, listen, there's a quote, and I don't know if it's exact, but oftentimes the loudest person in the room is not the smartest person in the room. And there's nobody louder in the entire NBA than Draymond Green. If you think about that one for a second.
No, I would agree.
And nobody else in the NBA has literally, go to YouTube. Nobody has a 5 to 10 minute compilation over the last decade of egregiously dirty plays. And Guru, I'm sorry, brother. I don't know what level of sports you played or like how you watched the game, but the fact you don't think the Sabonis, he jumps up and double foot stomps Sabonis on the chest. What are we talking about?
Right. No,
brother?
I'm not defending that. And real quick, I came down hard on Dre for that. My thing is he could have made the same argument that I was getting ready to run and I stepped on dude not knowing he was there. That's all. I'm not defending that play, and I never have.
I hear what you're saying, but we can't. I hear what you're saying, but we can't do the revisionist history. It's been a decade. He does this time and time again. It's like Steiny said, 10 games into the season, and we're like, oh, wow, Draymond's not arguing. And then, boom, it takes one play where Draymond fumbles on his face, loses the ball, instantly gets frustrated, and grabs this kid by the leg. I hear what Steiny's saying. Oh, his leg was already there. I don't care. Draymond clenched his leg and grabbed him.
So, Chris, should he be suspended, Chris? Should he be suspended, Chris?
I do not. No. Okay. I don't think he should be suspended. I think the year restarted. I understand they went 1-5, and then it was, is suspended indefinitely until he came back. But he's so out of touch with reality. Does he think people are watching the Warriors for Draymond Green? Really? Is that what he thinks?
He said ratings were down.
Are low?
Well, let me ask you
They
this,
don't
Chris.
love you like that. Hey, in the words of Draymond, they don't love you like that, bro.
That's pretty funny.
They
Hey,
don't
Chris,
love you like that.
let me ask you this before I let you go. So, is it fair to say you believe it's just a matter of time?
Oh, absolutely. It's just a matter of time. If I could bet on Draymond Green suspensions, I would bet the house on that, gentlemen.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Chris. I don't know if I would bet the house on it.
But for Dre to say, Steiny, the ratings are down and they need to call on Draymond Green.
Well,
like, Dre, they ain't coming at you like that. You know what I mean?
This is what Chris was talking about in San Jose.
The ratings is low. We know Draymond name sparks buzz. We know that name carries weight. We know that's going to get people riled up. Hey, man, ratings low. And sub in Draymond.
See, that's where he loses me, Steiny. You can't say that out loud, though. And I'm with Chris, Steiny. It's bigger than you, Dre, in that regard to get the ratings back up. But that's how he feels, and he said it. But for the people that think, I like hearing a gladiator come from the point of view, that they experience.
He's not a gladiator. He's an NBA basketball player.
No, he's playing, Steiny. He's a gladiator.
Well,
they all are.
No,
but
they're
he's
not.
one of the
they're
best.
not. That's what West Oakland Holloway's saying. He says Draymond's a tough guy, false tough guy, that he's not a gladiator. That's what my man was saying, I think.
Well, and I'm saying gladiator from what his job assignment and job duties entail. And West Oakland Holloway, why I'm giving Dre, why I'm in this mood is I'm not grading his comments, Steiny. It's just fascinating to hear his perspective. And for him to say they're breeding a youngster, a rookie, to be soft, and you're supposed to do what I've done for Steph and things like that, I kind of just marvel at hearing that. That's all.
Yeah, I think that's where I really don't need him. Talking about Taylor Jenkins, a guy he knows nothing about. Here's the other thing. And we got to
put him janky, Taylor.
We got to put this in the equation. Hey, Evan. Where's Zach Edey from?
Purdue.
Where did he grow up?
I know where you're going.
That's a good question.
Toronto.
Well, he's
soft. Think Dre's picking and choosing?
Dude, how many times is this now?
I've said that
this
before, but
you want to talk about this is the greatest 10-year coincidence of all time when you talk about who he's gone after. Nurkic, Gobert, Edey. Come on. Yeah. That's what that.
But he got into it with Tristan Thompson back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah. They kissed.
Okay. But that's another thing that West Oakland Holloway's talking about, I think.
No, and I
just take a look at the guys.
Yeah.
Stop it.
But we're talking about the meantime right now.
I think the caller's right. For me, he'd never do it to Oakland.
He's been phenomenal this year. I'm not going to let this incident make me go back to the priors. West Oakland Holloway and you and some callers, and it's your prerogative, you guys are opening the file again.
Well, the NBA is going to open the file again. That's the way they're doing it.
Yeah.
Or at least the way they've started to do it as of a year or two ago. Let's go to Marvin in San Francisco. Hey, Marvin, how you doing?
How you doing, guys?
Hey.
I got to reflect on this statement that this guy made about Draymond a little while back on the program. Sabonis grabbed Draymond's leg. And Draymond, because to get his leg free, posted himself on Sabonis' body and then sprung off. The referee ran right up to that play and didn't call anything on Sabonis for grabbing Draymond's leg, and then called a flagrant or whatever on Draymond. It's like when LeBron stepped over Draymond in the finals, and they ended up suspending Draymond when LeBron got away with stepping over him, and a taunting called it wasn't called. So I think there's a double standard. He does have a reputation, but how much do you mutate the rules now where one guy gets to do it, but the other guy, because of his past, doesn't get to do it and gets punished? They're talking about suspending him for this. What about holding Steph Curry's uniform like Marcus Smart does all the time? I just don't get this double standard. I don't think Draymond has done anything this year that warrants a suspension. And if they're doing this, they're kind of adding things up. I don't like the way the NBA is doing this kind of stuff.
Listen, I don't think he should be suspended for this.
Yeah,
and he's not going to be suspended for this. There we go. But I do think the NBA is acknowledging, Marvin, that they do have a double standard. They have a double standard. One for players who commit an infraction who haven't had much of a history, and then another standard for guys who have a history. I think the NBA right now is acknowledging that, they're doing the 3 strikes and you're out type of thing. This is interesting, and thank you, Joe Spadoni, for throwing this in there. This was during the NCAA tournament last year. I got it right here.
He sent it to me. Go ahead.
This is Draymond Green sent a tweet during the NCAA tournament when Purdue was playing. Job well done, 35. You did your job tonight. That's a player on the other team. It was him that made Edey quit with about 19 minutes to go in the second half. There was a turnover, and I saw Edey body language walking back. He was done. Now rewatch the game from that point on.
Yeah, So there's some disdain for Edey.
So how's Memphis creating a culture if he thought Edey was soft last year in college? Yeah. And if he thought he was soft in college last year, why'd you go after a guy like that?
Because it was easy.
Just asking questions. Yeah. Suzette in Oakland.
Hey.
What's going on, Suzette?
Hi, guys.
Hey.
How you doing?
Doing well.
Hey.
Good. I only call when it's a Draymond issue because, it's not going to change. He's a bully. He's passive-aggressive. He's major supercilious on any given day. And, I can't give him the benefit of the doubt anymore. And you're right. I mean, they say it's a double standard, but this is going on for like 10 years now. And I just want to say, how come he doesn't do that to the brothers, okay? How come he doesn't do that to Joel Embiid or Anthony Davis? He does it to other individuals that I'm not going to say because, it's just not right. Why doesn't he pick on somebody like that?
Thanks for the call, Suzette. I'll let that one hang out there.
Yeah, no,
I don't know the answer to that.
But again, I'm not defending Dre. I'm a guy along with you and our show, Steiny, and the station that has noticed a different Draymond starting with this play and his microphone game about leadership. So,
well, wait a minute.
I think we're reacting. It sounds like something happened.
Something did happen. He got a flagrant one and he got ejected on Friday. Separate incidents.
But on the Dre scale, Steiny, that's a single.
Well, then that is a double standard. I mean, if the bottom line is not everybody, people praising him last week, and what West Oakland Holloway's saying is you guys fell for the banana in the tailpipe. And, okay, maybe this doesn't reach the height of a Gobert choke or a Nurkic punch or slap or whatever it was, but this is how it all starts. Holding on to Edey's leg, there's the flagrant one. 2 technical fouls during the game, that's the ejection. Had the Warriors lost that game and he got thrown out earlier, this would be a bigger deal. The question is this more of just, like, it sounds to me like you may be, it sounds to me like most people believe it's just going to be more of the same at Draymond, and you believe that he's turned a corner.
I do. Okay, I got to be careful here. I do. But when Spadoni shared with us that tweet that you just read, again, I got to keep it real like I always do. Do you think he did that coming into the game already, not premeditated, knowing he thinks Edey is soft, so he could get away with something like that?
That I have no idea about. I have no idea. But are we destined to go down the same road again?
So, real quick here, because now you got me thinking. Steiny, again, for me saying this is a single on the Draymond meter, you do feel like that's a double standard? Like because it's Draymond, I'm feeling like this flagrant one is nothing. Because I know what it can be, Evan. It can be 25 games.
Well, but there are also plays where he gets the benefit of the doubt because of what he is. Against the Clippers, he had a play where he absolutely screamed at the referee. Yes, I texted the group chat.
I thought the same thing. I couldn't believe
he got away with it.
Any other player gets a tech for that.
But they know.
They know what? That he can get away with it. Look, the refs are not, for lack of a better word, a lot of refs are afraid of Draymond.
Okay, all right.
They just are. And you know what? Here's the other thing. Now they know anything they do with Draymond Green is going to get second-guessed. And if you think that you call something on Draymond and now it's going to be an issue, what do? You give him the benefit of the doubt rather than get into that headache of, he shouldn't have gotten a T for that E. No, he should have gotten a T. I thought he should have gotten a T for that.
We all texted, but now you got me thinking, why does it stop just there with the refs? It can be the league. It could be the league, Steiny.
What do you mean?
Like the league could be like, oh, we don't even want to dredge this stuff back up, man.
Well, we'll see. I mean, we'll see.
We'll see.
Because, if Draymond does something, I firmly believe that if Draymond does something that's deemed serious, he's not just going to get a 3-game suspension.
Right.
He's going to get much more. Like, who's the greatest? LeBron James. If LeBron James does something and Draymond Green does the exact same thing, Draymond will get suspended for a longer period of time than LeBron James.
And agree.
And I don't have a problem with that, actually.
Right.
If you're going to take into account the past.
Yeah. They're called, that's criminals, and he's not a criminal, but priors.
All right.
Yeah.
Coming up at 11, we got Eddie Johnson. He's one of the best. Color man for the Phoenix Suns. And then we got Ben Golliver of the Washington Post. On the other side, Steve Kerr had something to say that was just a little bit concerning about DeAndre Melton, and we can get into that. But, Goo, it's good to have you back.
I'm glad to be back, man. Thanks for holding it down.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up, at least in the first hour, you see Dalton Connect?
What's funny? It's incredible. And
what's incredible?
That he fell that low. And you told, we'll get it on the other side.
No, we still have time for you.
But you said because he's 20, like, why can't age be something attractive in a league that you could play to maybe you're 35 or 40? The Lakers have a talented dude that Steiny, just on your metric, that was available because he was too old.
Well, you know what, bud? You're the same guy that loves Kuminga, and you loved Wiseman. You know what I mean?
Everything on the house front is better, but I'll say this. Never have I been so happy that the YouTube chat was disabled than yesterday. But I know I still caught some strays, I'm sure.
I can honestly say I'm sort of built for this.
You caught a few on the
Yeah, but
Comcast
Dante diming me out to you guys, and then you airing me out on air.
What do you mean?
I was typing, why wasn't Kuminga in the last 8 minutes of the Warrior loss to the Clippers? Right. Somehow I typed Flamingo. He knew who I was talking about. He shared that with you, and then you guys aired me out on air. Snitches.
If it'll get you a laugh.
Oh, boy.
We'll try it.
Okay.
We'll try it. We'll try it.
Well, the Niners aren't laughing, and the Warriors, they got to smile.
Yeah, the Warriors play tonight. They play the Atlanta Hawks. They're 10-3 at Chase. Of course, the 49ers play the Packers this Sunday, 1:25 from Lambeau Field. And usually on a Wednesday is when we begin to shift our focus to the upcoming game, but we also sprinkle in the stuff that we haven't gotten to for most of the week. And I got to ask you.
I'm here for you.
Just where the Golden State Warriors played Monday against the Clippers. They got beat 102-99, I think. Is that what it was?
Lost by 3,
112-109 maybe? Shoot, it doesn't matter. Yeah. They lost by 3 points. Tonight they got the Hawks. What are you thinking about these days for the Golden State Warriors?
I'll take a page out of the Niners playbook, Steiny, the Red Cross. I don't like that they identified DeAnthony Melton as the guy that was going to start for the foreseeable future. And I know he can't control getting hurt. But, man, I don't know when he's coming back. And I'm looking at Pods, and I don't know, you tell me if you heard from Coach and Vallejo, because Pods is struggling right now. But he was the ideal backup point guard on this team, and I think they're missing that. And Pods has got to get it together, Steiny, and I know you tell me what you think if it was mask gate, but, the last couple of games there's been no mask, but 18% from 3, 38 from the field. Like, yikes, that's got to improve. And if he were here right now, Pods, I'd tell him, well, Melton's out right now with the ACL issue. That's not a sprained ankle. So, Steiny, there's got to be some urgency for them to get him to get back to what he was last year. But other than that, 10-3, I'll take it. I didn't like Kuminga not playing the last 8 minutes of the last game because I thought his athleticism. Steiny, he was finishing with his right, left, off glass, but there were some turnovers. But you got to make your free throws, and I don't know if you have that early on is how serious you take the Warriors free throw issue situation. Because to me, I'm like, damn, last. But if you're going to win or be a scorer, you got to make your free throws.
I'm not worried.
Okay. About why?
Free throw shooting.
Why?
Because I told Evan today, this is my belief. There's no such thing as a bad free throw shooting team.
The numbers say
there's no such thing as a bad free throw shooting team. There are bad free throw shooters on a team. But the Warriors are sitting with Steph Curry. They're sitting with Buddy Hield.
Steph only going 3 times a game early on.
Yeah, and if he shoots 6 a game, they're probably not in last place anymore. But no, I'm not worried about their free throw shooting. As long the problem they're having right now with free throws is mainly 3 guys, and that's Kuminga,
60%.
He's only shooting 60. He shot 75 last year. There's actually only one guy on the team that worries me. Two guys that worry me a little bit on the team.
Give him to me.
One is Pods, because he didn't shoot the ball well from the line last year. And the second is Trace Jackson-Davis. That's the one that I'm worried about, because if opposing teams feel like he's not a great free throw shooter, they're going to start kind of taking his head off in there. And then if he steps to the line and only can make 1 out of 2, then I think that's where you get yourself into trouble. But I'm not overly concerned about the free throw shooting right now. I'm more interested at this point in, do you think there's something starting to go on with Draymond Green?
Well, that's interesting you say that, because I was out yesterday at the doctor, Steiny, and I'm just sitting there all day basically in the waiting room, and I'm like, I didn't see what happened Friday in regard to Draymond's holding of the ankle. And I've given him all the accolades that he deserves with his play, with his microphone game, because he's been second to none. And this is a great Draymond Green. But when I heard the bombshell this morning, what I deem bombshell on his podcast, and I think we got the sound, Steiny, where he feels like, you know what, the NBA ratings are low and they need him, that's when I'm still in the page out of your playbook, Steiny. I went, like, do you want to, everything's going good, do you want to say that to the masses? Well, that your name is, not that it's not, but that you have that gravitas to, and like Dre, it's bigger than you not being in the news, you know?
Well, on Friday, the Warriors beat the Memphis Grizzlies, and Zach Edey and Draymond got tangled up in the backcourt, and it wasn't dissimilar from what happened with Draymond and Sabonis.
Exactly.
And Draymond grabbed his leg
from behind
on the night of the game. He was charged with just a foul, and then after the game, it was upgraded to a flagrant 1. And then, of course, he got thrown out of the game on Friday.
Yeah.
But it wasn't for anything he did with Zach Edey.
Okay.
He had a technical early in the game. And then the Edey play happened, which was just a foul. And then he got a second tee late in that game.
And that was John with the ref.
Yeah, and that's where he ended up being ejected. All right, so then what happens? Well, then Draymond does a podcast and says this about the Memphis Grizzlies and their coach.
You got Janky Taylor Jenkins, who's a softie. Bro, this game 11, you run into the media crying about a foul that, come on, bro. So guess what you just taught your 7'3" rookie? How to be emotional and run to the media talking about a foul. We bigs. We big men. You don't run to the media talking about a foul. You a big man. He's supposed to protect Ja Morant. You set him up to where Ja Morant gonna be to protect him. He's big enough to possibly have fooled people that he could be a little tough. And now nobody believe you. Now Joel Embiid gonna try to put his chest into the stanchion just to see I think he might be a little soft. Ooh.
Yeah, they gonna try him now. Everybody gonna try.
Y'all gotta stop breeding these soft dudes, man. Stop making these guys turn out to be snitches and soft and going to tell because you are a big man.
Go ahead.
No, you.
I feel like the great Tupac Shakur is coming out of Draymond Green because he said, we as bigs, he included Edey and Steiny. I never once thought about the breeding aspect or component of And I haven't heard Edey if he went to the media like the coach has.
Zach Edey said it was not a basketball play.
Okay, all right. But Dre's, I get goosebumps hearing that, Steiny.
Why?
Because I don't know, and I wonder if that's part of being soft by going to the media and you being a big and you having to be the protector of Ja. And I'm not saying Edey's soft, but hearing a guy that plays this game the way Dre does, I kind of like, oh my goodness, I feel like I'm in a corporate boardroom and he's at the whiteboard. And I'm like, that makes sense, Dre.
No, so he can run to, he laughs at people who run to the media to snitch. But he goes on to his own podcast after every game and tells the NBA story according to Draymond Green. My question is, are we back on the slippery slope with Draymond Green?
Well, I'll say this to that. I see where you're coming from, but I guess Taylor had talked about possibly getting, there being some repercussions. So now Draymond, I feel like Steiny on this podcast, he can talk about whatever he wants, and he does. But I feel like now you're trying to get me to miss games. You're trying to not have me there, and you're campaigning. So that's why he took issue with it.
Well, I mean.
But the play was he did have his ankle. Dre, let it go. Because they're saying, what if he would have blew out his Achilles?
I mean, Taylor Jenkins is doing nothing different than Steve Kerr would do for one of his players, which is stick up for him. And Draymond Green has a little bit of a history, And
they're priors.
So here we go. We're playing the Atlanta Hawks. Eddie, what's going on, man?
Man, I'm hanging in there. I'm just looking at that overrated team y'all look at every night. But other than that,
Eddie coming in hot.
Boy. Before we get into the jokes, let me ask you this, Eddie. Steve Kerr talking about using an 11 or a 12-man rotation, and so far he's kind of stuck to it. Is that sustainable?
Yeah, it is, because most of the players on that team are pretty similar to each other. They're not heavily counted on to do a lot past Steph, Buddy Hield, Wiggins, in regards to the scoring department. So they're a lot like Draymond in a sense. With the role that Draymond plays for this team, it's almost they're branching off of Draymond more than they're branching off of Steph, Buddy Hield, and Wiggins. You get what I'm saying? So, Steve was a role player himself.
Yep.
So he understands the dynamic of it. He understands what to say to them and what to get them to do. And then also send a message by playing time. Like, if you're playing well, you'll stay on the court. If you're not, the next guy that's waiting to get those minutes is going to be on the court. That's the way he's coaching. I think he planned it all along, and I'll just go back to the summer. And Steve's a good friend, so I want to say that first. I love him to death, okay? But everybody was worried about, and complaining that he wasn't playing Tatum in the Olympics. I happen to think he did Tatum a favor, in a sense, because Tatum he's fresh. He's aggressive. You saw what he did last night against Cleveland. And then he played the heck out of KD and Devin. He wore them down.
Oh, wow.
Wait, he wore LeBron down. He wore AD down. AD was limping at times. He still had him out there on the court. See, Steve's good. He was like, I don't have to deal with Boston. So I'm just going to concentrate on just making Devin Booker turn into a defender and get his mind off of scoring. So it'd be hard for him to make the adjustment back to scoring. He's a really good professor, man. I just figured that out the other day. That was a good game plan by Steve. But, all jokes aside, he's doing a tremendous job, man. I told him that the other day. I talked to him. To me, a number of years ago, guys, you remember when obviously you do, when they had the worst record in the league.
Mm-hmm.
I told him, I said, man, this is probably your best coaching job, because you had to practice all the time. You had to coach. You had to be strategic more than in the past. You didn't just sit back and relax like Phil Jackson used to do, because you had Steph and Clay out there. And now you had the coach. And I think coming into this year, he had the same mentality, and he's coaching his butt off. And Eric Spoelstra, at a number of years, supposed to be the best coach in the league. But after those couple of blunders he had last week, like the rankings go, I think Steve jumped over him.
Wow, I got you.
So he's done a tremendous job.
Hey, Eddie, my partner and I, we keep it real 10-2. We do it, and we've been critical over the years of Draymond Green when he does something on the court to kind of, leave his teammates out there hanging. But this year, he has been a monster on the court, Eddie, and his podium game. He's been a leader. But Friday night, he got a foul, and it was upgraded to a flagrant one, holding Edey's foot. And it was no big deal to me, but he went on his podcast and said the NBA ratings are down. They need his name. You played this game, Dre. So one, what did you make of the play? And two, I'm telling my partner, I think him talking about it, from they need him makes it worse. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, I listened to this podcast the other day. There's a snippet of it. And he made a statement. He was going to Taylor Jenkins, calling him soft. And then he was saying, you're hurting Edey by babying him. That the league needs tough guys. The league needs enforcers. Now, I would agree with Draymond in regards to the physicality. Yes, the league needs more physicality. Every team needs an enforcer. But enforcers don't grab people's damn ankles and risk their career. They don't do that. Enforcers get in your face, and they're willing to throw down. Draymond have in his career so far.
None.
I just don't, you testing people and you're saying these things knowing that guys aren't going to fight because guys don't want to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right.
Back in the day, some guys didn't even get fined. Like back in the day, if they did get fined, it was like maybe a couple of thousand. Like, can you imagine if he grabbed Charles Oakley's ankle?
No.
Yeah, we can't.
Can you imagine if he grabbed Robert Parrish's ankle, or Karl Malone, or Charles' ankle? Can you imagine? His manhood will be tested then. Like he's talking about Edey, and you're talking about a rookie that's just gotten to the league. A guy that's so big and strong that if he lost his temper, he probably would kill you.
Yeah.
But yet you're testing his manhood, saying he got to test his manhood on the floor. I just don't understand that part of it. Be physical. We had a rule. Don't hit below the belt. Don't hit above the shoulder. Okay? And that rule was forever in the league. And so when you're grabbing somebody, they're getting ready to run down the court, and they're not expecting that. Like if you're boxing out with Draymond, you already expecting you might get an elbow to the stomach.
Yeah.
An elbow to the chest. You know that could come, right? Or if you're going in for a shot, it might be a hard foul. You expect it.
Yeah.
If you don't expect getting a rebound and throwing an outlet pass, damn dude grabbing your damn ankle.
The one thing I was thinking
he doesn't get it, man. He does not get it. That can ruin somebody's career. You just don't do stuff like that. And then promote it and start talking like, he got to make him tough. Come on, man. If Steven Adams wanted to go ballistic when he hit him below the belt that time, what do you all think would have happened?
Pandemonium, Eddie. Yep.
Eddie Johnson joining us.
What do you think would have been the result?
Pain.
Adams would have thrown him around the arena.
Oh, man. Eddie Johnson.
That's the part that just gets me. That's all.
I got you. Eddie Johnson joining us on 95.7 The Game. Played 17 years in the league. Phoenix Suns analyst since 2003. Let me get back to this 11 or 12 man rotation because the way I'm looking at it right now, I feel like half the league is load managing. The new goal of the season for players is to play 60 games. And my feeling is that the reason this could work is in the regular season particularly is if you've got 10 or 11 guys who are playing every night and they're playing teams that are missing their star players every other night, I feel like the Warriors can win a lot of regular season games this year this way. I don't know about the playoffs, but I think the regular season, they might be able to use this to their advantage these days.
Well, it's all predicated right now based on how everything is working with this way of coaching. Is Steph has to stay healthy, okay, because he is the hub of all of this. And then Buddy Hield's got to keep playing like he wants a sixth man of the year off the bench. If either one of those guys are compromised, then I foresee a 10-game losing streak. Okay? That's how quick it can turn. Now, you see what's happening to my Suns. KD and Bill goes down, and we've lost, 5 in a row. It can turn quickly if you lose key guys that lead the other guys that play a role. Because if Steph goes down, then what? Kuminga's got to be more aggressive. Can he do it consistently? Right? As Draymond goes down, and I put Draymond as a third person, Kyle Anderson all of a sudden got to do his best Draymond impersonation. Like over a period of starter minutes a game. Right? Will he be able to do that? See, that is the question. Right? That's the question that you have to deal with when you're dealing with a team that's playing this way. But the way that they're playing now, they have a lot of confidence. They got great hustle guys. They're playing great defense. It's just a lot of good things to say about what's going on right now in Golden State. And I'm just tired of saying, that they're done, right? I didn't have them I didn't have them making the playoffs this year. I didn't. I was looking at the roster, and look, Kyle Anderson is a kid that I've trained since high school. Okay, so I know he can play. Buddy Hield can flat out shoot it, but he looked like he couldn't shoot last year in Philly. So for me, and I was looking at the team, Moses Moody. I mean, look, when he does play his minutes, I mean, the guy looks like he can play. He got a good offense, but it's hard to find consistent minutes for him. That was a question mark. Kuminga. I mean, is he going to be upset because of his contract and not getting extended? So is that going to play a role with him? So there's just a lot of questions out there, right? Gary Payton II, he has a propensity to get hurt a lot because of the way that he plays. So I was looking at all of that, and I was like, I don't know. And so I'm going to stop doing that with any Steve Kerr. I stopped doing it with Popovich. And obviously Steve Kerr is a disciple of Popovich. You just never count them out because of their ability to galvanize guys and motivate and get them ready to play.
Eddie, I'm a 70s baby, man. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining to you, but it's real. I know these guys, these players are not faking injuries, but every time I sit down to watch a game, it's like, who's not playing? I get that guys are trying to get better. But, Eddie, you used to shoot it. You shoot it with the best of them. But this 3-ball epidemic is, I believe, out of control and hurting the game. You say what to that?
Yeah, to me, it's over the top, but that's the way they're going to play. And I guess we can push back on it all day long, right? Matter of fact, all night long. I just saw Lionel Richie in Las Vegas this past weekend.
Hello.
Nice.
Yeah. I got a little all night long on my mind, but so to me, look, if you look at my numbers, I scored over 20,000 playoffs included, and I averaged 1 3 a game in my career. But I can shoot the 3. I shot the 3 1 year in my career. That's when I won 6-man. I shot 42%. I can shoot it. But I'm like, I was DeMar DeRozan before DeMar DeRozan. Case in point, everybody in the 80s was DeMar DeRozan before DeMar DeRozan. And that ability just to balance your game and do it well. Steph balances his game. People focus on his threes. But Steph got every damn thing.
Yeah.
So he's just not all about threes. He knows how to balance his threes with his twos, with his drive, and that's what makes him so great. But yeah, I just, when it's going good, like Boston was last night against Cleveland, it looks good. And you're like, oh, wow, right? But then other times, like in the second half, they started missing them threes, and Cleveland got back in the game.
Right.
It's just, there have been flow it's an ebb and flow that takes control from the coach, in a sense, to calm it down. And, yeah, I would like more half-court sets. I would like more half-court design plays run and stuff like that, but it's not going to happen.
Eddie, let me finish up with this one for you, because Kyle Anderson obviously is a new Warrior, and Jonathan Kuminga's in his 5th year. And, you know, there's still a lot of excitement about Kuminga, obviously his athleticism, things like that. But there's always been some frustration out here among the fans that Steve hasn't gone to him a lot. But I said this earlier, and you just tell me what you think. I'm like, if there's 5 minutes to go in a tight game and Steve Kerr looks down his bench and sees Kyle Anderson and Jonathan Kuminga, he's going to pick Kyle Anderson. But why do you think that? Like, people have asked me what they see in Kyle Anderson, why he's the player he is. You trained him. Can you answer that?
He's a heck of a defender on the ball. You can't go around him. They call him slow-mo, but his arms are so long that it covers his inability to move maybe as quickly laterally as most players. So if you try to go around him, he flicks at the ball. It's just a tremendous gift he has. He's had it since high school, and he's a very good rebounder. So, you know, again, he's got the long arms, so he's going to go in there and get tough rebounds for you. He'll block a shot for you. And strategically, defensively, he's always going to be on point with what they're running. Kuminga is more talented, but he's almost like, probably in their minds, he's like a loose cannon that they don't want to use right now, because Steph is their loose cannon and Buddy Hield is their loose cannon, and Andrew Wiggins on nights when he has it going is their loose cannon, and that's what he's going to roll with. And so anytime you have another guy and those three are out there, he's going to turn to Kyle Anderson, because he doesn't want Kuminga out there taking a shot that's reserved for those three.
Yeah.
Now, Kuminga has to, what he has to do, he has to win Steve over. Everybody's had to do it. I had to do it as a player. You know, coaches tried to restrict me. What you do is you push until they finally say, okay, he's ready. A lot of times it's a test. And Kuminga can't pout. And sometimes I kind of view him as a pouter. I don't really know for sure, but it does to me. And you just can't do that. I know he didn't get his contract, and that's probably on his mind as well, but you just can't do it. He's a very talented player. He's going to be in the league a long time. He's going to make a lot of money. It might not be the kind of money he wants at the time and place, but he's going to be in the league because he has everything to become a very good player. He just has to be patient.
Eddie, thanks as always, man. You're the man, and I guess we're going to see you next weekend, maybe in about 2 weeks. And you'll be able to get an up-close look at this Warrior team.
Yeah, you're gonna see me, and we're gonna come prepared though. They wasn't on the schedule early enough to try to get try to feel like they can walk and get a good win. They're gonna see KD, who, by the way, was probably playing at the MVP level before he went down, and Bradley Beal's having a heck of a year as well. So. We got a young rookie, too, that could possibly put the clamps on Steph for a few minutes. Just a few minutes.
Well, Eddie, I'll tell you this. You need to be worried about Brunson and company tonight.
Tell the Bay Area who you're talking about.
Look, he gave us 50 last year. So yeah, we gonna throw Ryan Dunn on him a little bit. Try to mess with him.
Yeah. All right, Eddie. All right. Thanks as always, man. You're the best. Eddie Johnson joining us right now. Let's welcome in Ben Golliver of the Washington Post. He's their national NBA writer. He's also an author of Bubble Ball, and he hosts the Greatest of All Talk podcast. He's a co-host there. Thank you, Ben, so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure, guys. How y'all doing?
We're doing well, and I understand you were at the Warriors-Clippers game on Monday, so you got a firsthand look at Golden State. And I guess the first question I'll ask is pretty much what I ask everybody who sees the Warriors for the first time or who has seen them a little bit this year. Can this 11 or 12-man rotation work for the regular season, the playoffs? Not at all. Is it sustainable?
Well, I definitely think it's sustainable, and it's something that can work during the regular season. We haven't really seen championship-level teams or contenders try to take that approach in the playoffs. And we've actually seen the Warriors kind of go the other way and tighten things up during their long postseason runs. But I'm glad you started with their depth and their approach there, because so much has been made over the last decade about the Warriors' influence on the NBA. And it always starts with the three-point shot. Steph Curry launches the three-point revolution. But this strength in numbers thing that they were dealing with 10 years ago has become cutting edge. It's the way that everybody's playing basketball to start this season. If you look at the best teams around the league, the Cleveland Cavaliers, who have former Warriors assistant Kenny Atkinson, they play a strength in numbers style. The Boston Celtics play a strength in numbers style. They got Payton Pritchard, a leading sixth man of the year candidate, coming off the bench. In the Western Conference, even the younger teams, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Houston Rockets, those teams are kind of playing strength in numbers in terms of going deep into their bench. And I think a lot of it has to do with the salary cap stuff, right? You can't afford to have, a big three gigantic contracts or try to put together a super team with contracts and still fill out your bench and keep up in this fast-paced, pace and space style that has really taken over the NBA. So I think the Warriors, their hot start, it's about the depth, but it's also about that smart planning, cutting ties with Klay Thompson, getting a little bit more flexible there, letting Chris Paul go, getting more salary cap flexibility, and then just filling in with some veteran guys who aren't super expensive but who can give you minutes and can help carry you potentially to April and May and maybe even beyond if the Warriors get some good luck.
Yeah. Hey, Ben, you were at the game Monday at the Intuit Dome, and this was, I know every team's different, but this was the second time the Clippers had beaten the Warriors, this version of the Warriors. And, they don't got a lot of superstars, but they got athletic. They're athletic. They got length. And I remember watching the Warriors against the Cavs. They had that, similar length and athletic guys. Is there any thought that you had about maybe the Warriors moving forward when they face defenses with that ingredient? It might be cause for concern.
Oh, no question. Look, turnovers have been an issue for this group for a long time, probably as long as you guys have been talking about this era, right? And when you're undersized, that becomes a real problem. I mean, they were sloppy. They were careless. They didn't really seem completely locked in. And to go back to the earlier point about the depth, when Steph Curry was off the court, the guys who were stepping into that spot were not playing well, right? I mean, I think Pods, he's got to step up. I mean, I think he had a real tough night against the Los Angeles Clippers. He's got to get out of his head, play a little bit better. That would go a long way to kind of making a more stable in-game experience, I think, just for everybody. But Golden State's, they've beaten a really long and talented team in the finals not too long ago, the Boston Celtics. I don't think it has to be fatal. But I do think that they missed Kevon Looney in that particular game just because the Clippers have a big front line and, they needed some bigger bodies, I think, to go back and forth with a player like Zubac. And then they got to clean the turnovers up. I think if they do those things, they're in good shape.
Ben Golliver joining us from the Washington Post. He's their national NBA writer. Let me ask you this about Jonathan Kuminga, Ben. Obviously, he didn't get his rookie extension, and he's headed toward restricted free agency. How do you think it plays out? Because you know how reluctant other teams are to do the Warriors or any teams negotiating for them. And then I believe if you do offer Kuminga a contract, another team, then you got to kind of wait for his answer. How do you see this playing out with Kuminga?
Well, when I saw some of the requests, I guess, from his side or the reports about what he was looking for, I was just scratching my head saying, I don't know where that's coming from. Like, we're in totally different ballpark. So I imagine that's probably why he didn't get a deal done, because it seems to me like perhaps his perception of his own value is a little bit different from what I would be looking at. If I'm trying to pay a young wing these days in the modern NBA, the checklist goes, can you shoot three-pointers at a high volume? Can you play make for your teammates, as a passer, as a drive and kick guy, as somebody who could set up, good offense? So do you have some touch and some feel to your game? Can you handle the basketball? And then can you defend multiple positions at a high level? And you go down that checklist with Kuminga, and how many things is he checking at this point? And it's not like he's still a rookie. I mean, this is year 4. So I think he's a fine player. To me, I don't want to be dismissive, but I think the Warriors would be fine without him, going forward into the future. Like, I don't think this is somebody that they have to get into a bidding war with. I don't think this is like a make or break type deal. I understand there's some internal pressure probably because, you wanted to have that youth movement, that 2 tracks model. and they don't really have very many of those young guys left after Wiseman goes and so forth. So if you're still clinging to that idea, you might be motivated to take care of him. But, to me, he just has not shown very much in his 3+ seasons, and I guess I'm still a skeptic. I don't know. Where do you guys stand?
Go ahead, Goo.
Well, I think it's there. I don't think this 11 or 12-man rotation helps them. And in that game Monday that you were at, I thought, man, they need him, and his number wasn't called. So I'm with you. I'm skeptical, but I just think when my coach says we're going to be a strength in numbers, that kind of is a handwriting on the wall. What do you say to that?
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Look, if somebody else wants to come in free agency and pay him like a star and make him a core piece and say, hey, we want to build around this young guy's physical talents, we really believe he can develop as a player. I think if you're Golden State, you say, we're already paying our stars, right? We're paying guys who have won championships, who have been in that spot, and then maybe you're trying to work out a trade, or maybe you're just content to say, hey, it didn't quite work out here. That's how I would approach it. Obviously, Golden State is in a nice position because they've got some of the deepest pocketbooks in the NBA, and so if push comes to shove, they could probably make something happen if they wanted to. But I'm with you. He doesn't feel like a huge priority right now, and honestly, I don't think he's playing his way into being a priority for this group. Right? Like there's the minutes available. Yeah. Go earn them. And I'm just not really seeing it. I've never seen it with him, to be honest. This has been something I've been saying really since his rookie year.
Ben, I needed a bounce-back year from Draymond Green, and my goodness, 47% from three, the individual defense, the team defense, and just the relentlessness out there. What have you seen from Draymond Green this season?
No, I like that phrase you use, bounce back, because, Draymond, he's like one of those guys, it's like you just want to quit him, man. With some of these low moments of these last couple of years, it's like, I can't deal with this anymore. Like, you're costing your team in big spots. Enough with the technical fouls, enough with the flagrant fouls and the suspensions and all this stuff. But he has been an elite defensive player when he's been on the court, going on a full decade now. It's remarkable. His motor is still there. Shot blocking is there. And when they go to the smaller lineups, man, he contests a lot of shots around the basket. The energy level is always phenomenal. And then it's just pure IQ. And I think sometimes it gets overlooked because of the outbursts, or maybe, people don't give him credit for his basketball IQ. I think he's got to be top 3 or 4 smartest players in the NBA and has been for his entire prime. So the fact that he's still doing it is a big reason why the Warriors have been winning with defense, to start this season. And I think it's a big reason why you've got to take them seriously again in the playoffs. I mean, we've seen him turn it on in playoff runs. I think the 22 run, there was still some hiccups. Like, it wasn't perfect every single night, maybe a little bit of a slow start to the finals. But when he hit 6th gear, Boston had no answers. And as we've come to find out these last couple of years, that was a really good Boston team that Steph Curry dissected, and that Draymond Green, I think, kind of pumped mentally, to be honest.
Yeah, Ben Golliver joining us on 95.7 The Game. He works for the Washington Post as their national NBA writer. Let me go back to Draymond for a second, but it's less about Draymond than Draymond and the NBA. So on Friday, obviously there was a play involving he and Zach Edey where he grabbed his leg. I think it was either not called or it was just a regular foul. They upgraded it to a flagrant one. Now, Taylor Jenkins obviously was lobbying for his team, but help me out here, because the NBA recently has started, when they fine or suspend a player, they say we're taking into account now past actions. So if that's the case, can you suspend Draymond Green for one game if he's involved in an incident? Or would it be more than that because Draymond's got a history?
Well, I think in this scenario, they just decided that contact with Edey wasn't that severe, right? I mean, they could have, if they had wanted to, I think that they could, suspend him in that situation if they had viewed that videotape and said, hey, yeah, like, we feel like this crossed the line. The referees just missed it. It's totally unsportsmanlike. We've got to throw the book at him. I mean, they came up with the indefinite suspension last year. Had anybody ever heard of that one before? It's like, we're sending Draymond to timeout. We don't know when he's coming back, right? So, clearly they can kind of do what they want when it comes to punishment and taking care of it. But look, I don't like it when guys play around other guys' ankles or their knees when they're laying on the court, like Sabonis was laying on the court. I think you should be a hardline league on that kind of contact. But, with the Edey one, I understand why Memphis would make a big deal about it because there's been, some bad blood between those two teams over the years. And so I get, the campaigning that they did. I feel like it landed at a reasonable place. I didn't think this was the worst thing in the world. And I do think, though, they got to keep a close eye on Draymond Green, right? This is going to be a long season. It's going to get fierce. It's going to get, they're going to be fighting for playoff position for the next 4 or 5 months, right? So there's going to be a lot of heated moments, a lot of long road trips, a lot of late game clutch situations. If he loses his cool, I think the Joe Dumars and the guys in the NBA league office need to be ready. That's their job.
Yeah.
Hey, Ben, quick question here. The ratings are down. When you hear that, do you make a correlation between the load management? Because I don't know what to put my finger on it, and I love ball, and I don't like to hear it, but what comes to mind when you hear the NBA ratings are down?
Well, there's, I think, a lot of different things. Number one, we saw over the summer that people love the older stars. I mean, Steph, LeBron, KD just captivating the world, right? Like just taking care of business over there in Paris. It was such an amazing summer of basketball to be over there in Paris and watch those guys do their thing. But we know fans love the latest and greatest, the new deal, right? And those guys have been, just dominating for so long. I think people are ready for some fresh blood. And you look at the next generation of stars. I mean, Jokic has been out for a week, no real explanation. Embiid shoving reporters, not really on the court, right? Giannis is struggling with his team, can't get them on track. And you go to the even younger generation, I think there's another thing going on, which is the dramatic rise in the three-point shot. If you look at Anthony Edwards, Victor Wembanyama, Jalen Green, I mean, a number of these guys are very high draft picks. LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, these are like top 3 picks from, say, the last 4 or 5 years of draft classes, right? So these are the future faces of the NBA. Well, a lot of those guys are out there shooting 8, 9, 10, 11, even 12 three-pointers a night, and I think some fans like it, some fans don't. I mean, these guys don't shoot it like Steph Curry, right? Like, it's not as entertaining, as exciting as Steph Curry, so I think it gets to be a little bit repetitive, and I think that might turn some people off. And then some of the other guys who I think could have been big ratings drivers like Zion, John Morant, those guys are out injured. I think that's a factor as well. And I think the NBA is in a spot where, look, it's a superstar league. So if it's load management, if it's injuries, if guys are just, shooting a lot of threes and some fans don't like it, I think you add all those things up and not really having that person to take the baton from LeBron, Steph, and KD. I think those are some of the reasons why maybe there's a little bit of a lull right now. But I would just encourage people, and I'm sure you guys have been watching these games, the games are competitive to start the season, whether it's the NBA Cup or otherwise. We're not getting so many of those 30-point blowouts that we were seeing these last couple of years. I think the defensive intensity in a lot of cases is back. Even though the scoring figures are inflated, I think defenses are adjusting a little bit, and you're getting a lot of really tense late-game situations. I mean, a team like the Bucks, every night it goes down to the final possession, it feels like, right? A team like the Pistons, they've been completely irrelevant for years. They've been playing some just crazy games, going to overtime, last-second shots. I mean, even some of these teams that, we look at the standings and say they're kind of also rans, have been really providing an entertainment value. And so I do think it's important for media guys like us. Look, I understand the ratings might be down, but it's worth watching. This is a good product, and there's definitely been a worse product here, I think, at other times over these last couple of years. I think they've got a better balance between offense and defense this year, and I think you've got a really competitive race, especially in the Western Conference. Like, almost any of these teams could make the playoffs. It's really, really crazy, the depth of talent in the West.
Washington Post national NBA writer Ben Golliver joining us on 95.7 The Game. I'll get you out of here on this one, Ben, because you cover the league as a whole. The Warriors, obviously, in the offseason went after Paul George, and they had interest in Lauri Markkanen, and they're talking about if a big boy comes available, they think they can make a splash. Where are we with Joel Embiid and the value he may have around the league? And then what do you think is going on with Giannis?
Well, I don't know if you're looking at it from a Warriors perspective, but I mean, stay away. Like not getting Paul George was the best thing that ever happened to the Golden State Warriors this summer. That's a huge contract. You look at what he's doing in year one. This was the year the contract was supposed to be good value, right? Because he's getting older and older and declining. He's not contributing to wins. They're one of the worst teams in the league. He's not providing a leadership presence on that group because he's the new guy. And he's really never had that role, during his prime years. So, I mean, look, you didn't miss anything there. Now, in terms of Joel Embiid, he just signed a massive contract. You have huge injury red flags. You're seeing reports this week about commitment issues and is he bought in and all that. That's just a player who you're not going to trade him at the lowest point of his trade value, right? And this earlier in his contract, I mean, I just don't think you're going to get anything close to equal value. I think if you're Philadelphia, you're just stuck and you're going to have to ride these guys out for the next couple of years, even if it means a lot of losses. Now, with Giannis, I think the ball's a little bit more in his court, right? Because he's out there playing every single night. He's putting up monster numbers. He said for years he wants to compete for a championship, and the Milwaukee Bucks do not have a championship roster around him, not even close. I mean, he's been, arguably, like, numbers-wise, an MVP-type candidate, and these guys are way below 500, and they have one of the worst clutch offenses in the NBA because nobody on the team can even hit a shot. So that's one where I do think you have to circle. Now, is he going to want to, like, uproot his life with a midseason trade request? Is he willing to wait to the summer? Is he going to give it a chance for some of these guys to get back healthy? I mean, Giannis has never been, super proactive. This is not Kevin Durant in Brooklyn, right, where he's just trying to get out by any means necessary, or Kyrie Irving trying to get out by any means necessary. But I think if you're circling, like, the next big star who could change teams, I think Giannis is the most obvious candidate at this point. And that's not to take anything away from his loyalty. It's not to, like, put the Bucks down as an organization. It's just to say this is the end of the road. I mean, they're too old. They're not deep enough. They don't have very much continuity. Giannis and Dame do not make each other better. Doc Rivers' record since taking over has just been absolutely abysmal. It just feels like too much negative inertia for one superstar to overcome. You start to imagine him in some other locations. I mean, I'm sure he would love to play with the spacing that the Warriors have, right? I'm sure he'd love to play with the young athletes that are down on the Houston Rockets, right? You can imagine some of these scenarios that would be better for Giannis to spend his next chapter, and I think he's getting to that point of his career.
Ben, thank you so much for joining us. Really great NBA discussion. We appreciate your time.
All right, guys, take care.
Yes, sir. That's Ben Golliver, Washington Post. He's their national NBA writer. He's also an author of Bubble Ball. That was about the NBA season in the bubble. And he's a co-host of the greatest of all talk podcast. If it's true, because we don't know when Purdy got hurt, but if it was on the dive early in the game for the touchdown and his right shoulder was sore, and that's part of the reason they didn't throw one pass 20 yards downfield, and his shoulder is still sore, Dobbsy
would have been in, if you're right. Dobbsy would have been in.
I don't know.
As soon as I found out he couldn't throw it 20 yards. Like, I don't want to believe that because Purdy has been off in regard to accuracy. Just something's been off. But I'm going to say this, and Evan is my witness. From week one, when we were on the field pregame against the Jets, and I got the news, or we got the news after assuming I did, McCaffrey was going to play in that game because McCaffrey said he wasn't going to miss it. Ever since then, this Kittle injury with Niners, it's all quiet on the set. I get it, and I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about last week. It's quiet on the set all week, and you assumed, okay, everybody's going to be there. And then when you hear Friday or Thursday, Steiny or Evan might not be available, guess what? They're not available. It's happened pretty much all season long. So for Purdy to be on here with the shoulder, Steiny, I'm like, oh my gosh, you think I'm just playing Dobbsy or Allen? Like, what if that's their reality come Saturday night or Sunday morning?
Then you got to go with a backup. I mean, you just do. But how about this from the 415? No. Giddings is usually correct. That's from the no on the 415.
So he's hurt.
We'll see. Well, he is hurt. He's got a sore right shoulder.
Well, sore sounds like, come here, let me rub it.
Well, he's got to use it to throw.
No, I get you.
And he doesn't have a strong arm anyway.
No, I got you, partner.
I'm just saying. And did you look at the forecast?
I asked you already. You said no rain, right? You said cloudy.
Small chance of rain. I
wanted rain. Take us back to...
Because you want them to lose?
No, Vince Lombardi. I like seeing the conditions. Like Madden.
Purdy is 0-5 when the humidity level is over 60. I'm making that up.
But it feels... Wow. I got to tell you something about this game.
Call it like you see it.
I am, Shannon. Right now, the Niners, in regard to their postseason hopes, they're 2 games back of the Packers, who have the 6th seed right now at 7-3. It is imperative that you win this game, because if you don't, Steiny, the only way you're getting to the offs is by winning the division. And you got Arizona week 17. You got Buffalo, Detroit. The Niners are in no position to look at the schedule and say, oh, we got a pushover, because you've been playing like the pushover. The bottom line is you have to win Sunday.
1 out of the next 2.
I think, no, but if you lose to Buffalo, it's an AFC game. You want to handle business this one. So it gives you, you gain a game for this 6th seed if somehow you don't win the division.
Yeah, 1 out of 2 is fine.
I said what I said. It's not 1 out of 2. And you want to measure yourself up against Buffalo, who right now is,
well,
they can
that's
do no
a joke.
wrong. It is.
You're not Buffalo right now. You're not Detroit. You're not the Packers. You're not the Vikings.
You don't have to ask.
You're 5-5. You're not even the Cardinals.
Well, we're the defending National Football Conference champions.
And that and a nickel will get you that and a nickel.
Oh, boy.
I mean.
So do you, honestly, just back to, do you think that's why we didn't see any deep throws? I don't.
Maybe. We don't know why. We don't know why.
So do you go to the coach like, man, it's hurting. I can only do the intermediate. I don't think.
I'm just saying that that was a thing. That was an interesting point that Evan brought up, and I wondered if there's some validity to it. They threw no pass over 20 yards.
But you told me they're an intermediate throwing team. They don't throw it deep. They're not the.
They're not.
You know?
They're not. But that's maybe part of the reason. He doesn't have a strong arm anyway. And I don't know. Maybe
if I asked you right now, Steiny, and I missed you guys yesterday, are the Niners making the playoffs now? They're currently the 10th seed. Before you answer, until I see it, and I told Evan this morning, they're making it. I have to believe
they're making it.
Their stinkers are behind them. Okay. And if you stink, you got a couple more, maybe it's against Buffalo, but if you somehow could beat Green Bay, you're one step closer to them as an option for the wild card.
See, this is where when you say they gotta win, so they're gonna win, son.
Well,
what does that mean? You thought they were going to beat the Seahawks?
Oh gosh, you could keep going.
Exactly. So when do you finally believe they are who they are?
If they lose to Green Bay.
No, I wouldn't say that. Well, you can. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I'm giving them 2 games. I'm giving them 2 games because if they lose to the Packers, then the Bills then they have to beat the Bills.
And that's going to be in conditions, right? Regardless if it's precipitation or not, it's going to be cold.
I'm not a weatherman.
Well,
how the hell do I know what it's going to be like in Buffalo?
Well, you're a football fan. You know in November, December, you're getting something.
They're on a bye week this week.
Oh, no.
Yep.
A lot of Niner fans not happy how many teams they've played coming off the bye. Dallas came off the bye.
This one's for you, Goof, from the 510 on the Comcast Business text line. Purdy's not a good deep ball thrower. And combine that with they don't have a deep threat receiver.
I don't think a coach says I'm being real here. And I told you this. It's nuanced. Throw it deep just to keep them honest.
Yeah, throw an interception.
Well,
that makes sense.
Now we know he's not that. He can throw a deep ball.
Hold on.
Hold on. You tell me to take a play off?
No. I just saw a call. Just came in, and the title is Disagree with Guru. I think we should get right to it.
Go.
Let's go to Thomas in San Ramon. Sorry to keep you waiting, Thomas.
T.
Hey, no problem. I think
kidding. It was only 20 seconds. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I think the Niners are cooked this year. I think they had their shot last year. They got a lucky bounce off of a face mask. They had Brock Purdy and a lightning in a bottle, and they just missed their shot. And now the window's closed, and they're old, and they're injured. And CMC's not going to, they got a good 3 years out of him, and they're not going to get much more.
Let me, Thomas.
Wow.
Thomas, I'm going to throw this question out to you and the listeners because we talked about it before the show. If you have to bet, you have no choice. You have to bet 1,000 of your dollars. You have no choice. You must bet. Who's winning the NFC West? Who are you putting 1,000 on?
I'd probably have to go with the Rams.
Oh, all right.
That was a good
question.
Thank you,
Thomas.
The other teams. I love that question. Like Arizona's fine. I get it right now. They're balling, but Steiny, and they were going down 2 scores. They pulled it off. They pulled the caper off, but the Niners gave that to them. Mason fumble. You know, it's just somehow the Niners is bigger than luck, right? But what I don't like and what I'm going to hold in Kyle's file, because I'm the guy that said he's a genius, he can scheme them open with the best of them. What we've seen is the biggest indictment, and it's just starting to fester and grow in me. Had I not seen Mason this year or Garendo, I would have no qualms about them getting the ball. I am not telling you all they're losing because those 2 guys aren't seeing the field. But what I'm disappointed with and what I think Kyle is missing is the fact that we've seen those guys at times look explosive, contribute. So you get McCaffrey back and your running game doesn't get a little jambalaya feel to it. You can't find a way, Kyle, to have Mason in the backfield and McCaffrey lined up outside. Well, like, this is what I thought and who I thought you were. Why are you not mixing or scheming it up just a little bit, partner? Well, I'm not saying 10 or 12 carries.
Okay, I'll just tell you that.
Tell me.
You put Mason in the backfield. If he gets it, he's probably running up the middle. And if you put McCaffrey in the slot, that means he's going to go out as a receiver. So to me, there have been a lot of people that have said, well, this offense is predictable. You put Mason in the backfield and McCaffrey in the slot, then those guys can only do McCaffrey.
But you could throw a toss to, you said up the middle, you could throw a toss to late in the second half when defenses are starting to tire and mace him, and he could be a bull in the china shop.
Apparently not, because he started 8 games and he caught 5 passes.
But Steiny, 5 weeks of that, he led the league in rushing. So what I'm saying is he's bringing something to the table.
I also think this. And listen, I'm not saying you're wrong keeping those guys integrated.
That's what the word I'm looking for.
I think Kyle may think, Mason's not done, but Mason's wearing down. Maybe that's why. Mason never played as much as he did the first 8 games.
But I'm starting to...
And he was starting to lose effectiveness.
Well, again, Steiny, I'm starting to doubt Kyle like I have, like I've never had before, because it doesn't make much, and it's a hard job, right? But when you get these accolades, and it's not just me, it's everybody, you got to find a way in a game plan, and this offense, all the responsibility falls at his doorstep, man. You can't tell me this red zone issue. This is his baby. He's the offensive coordinator because he didn't want to give that responsibility to anybody else. Let's go.
Maybe they don't have the personnel anymore to do it. Debo's not the player he was.
See, and that...
He's not. He's not.
I can't argue that the numbers will...
Yeah, so you can't use him like you used him in, 2021 when he was a phenom? No, probably not. You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco. Always live on the free Odyssey app, Twitch and YouTube, powered by First NorCal Credit Union. We can have some fun with this, 49er fans. If you had a bet, you had to bet 1,000. 1,000 to me hurts. That hurts.
You're big Mr. When's payday? It's this Friday, by the way.
That hurts. Hey, by the way, go ahead. All
right, well, I lied to you guys. I took a break at the hospital yesterday and turned on the station on the Odyssey app and heard Evan say this. Don't tell Guru you can play sound from the board. Evan, I wanted to admit myself.
There's another lie. There's another lie.
What lie?
You said you didn't listen to the show yesterday.
No, that was 2 minutes.
Well,
I went outside and I turned it on. It's like, why do they hammer me when I'm not there?
Because we can never hammer you when you're here.
Evan. Oh, you got hammered. I'm gonna air Evan out.
Let me do this first. Warriors Wednesday is brought to you by Friedman's Appliance. Come see their full selection of in-stock luxury appliances in live working vignettes. Visit Friedman's Appliance in Pleasant Hill today.
I was like, my gosh. I understand you, but real quick here. You left the studio. Evan comes in. I said, hey, man, this is random. Inside the NBA's coming to ESPN. And then he goes, yeah, Shaq doesn't have a contract. I go, yeah, he put that out there. But he goes, you think Kenny's coming? Ernie's coming? I go, they're all coming because you can't have the show without one of the guys, right? And I go, sometimes I think of myself to Steiny, am I his Shaq? Because, my mishaps.
No.
And then I go, well, Steiny's not Ernie. And Evan goes, either of you guys are Ernie. But the way he said, especially you, I want you to get mad. He said,
Ernie,
you or I are not Ernie by any stretch of but the way he said it, Steiny, was like, my man.
Ernie is a host. I'm not a real host.
You are.
That's been established.
The way Evan said either one of us are not Ernie. I wanted to get with him a little bit. Anyway.
415. Well, all right.
Read the ones that are against you.
No, so I shocked you. Well, I don't want to get into basketball, but I'll read it. Steiny, shocked you take Zion over Embiid. Not defending Embiid, but Zion just doesn't play and feel he's not committed to the game. At least I've seen Embiid play elite ball.
Yeah,
I'm out.
I'm taking him. I think if we put that up, Steiny. Well, what's going on right now? Embiid's not helping himself, but had you did it a month ago, I think this would be a landslide.
I am ready to go.
At least he's playing now.
So hold on. Debo is getting 28 and a half. Are you telling me if you think he's washed or done, that's on Kyle to get him off, Steiny? Like, no, so you're laughing. Like, this is a problem. So the Packers right now are at home just scheming for this Niner offense. You think they're not worried about Debo?
No,
or it's just
not
like
as much as they used to.
The lateral stuff, the jet sweeps and the bubbles. Like, how has he just evaporated in regard to impact when you needed him to step up when Ayuk went down?
You know what the hardest part about Debo is? I heard this on, I think, Willard and Dibb's show yesterday. You know what's the biggest? You know what scares me most about Debo Samuel right now? He was supposed to be in the best shape of his life.
That's it. Man.
He was supposed to be poised for a big season. Now listen to Debo Samuel.
This year for sure. Me personally, want to be one of the, want to be my best self as much as possible, especially as a whole, as a group, kind of hit on it, like losing games that, we don't supposed to lose. And we put ourselves in positions, like put our back against the wall at times and just look at from top to bottom, like one of the best rosters in the league. It's just like, it gets frustrating because like, we know we're capable of. We got to finish games. We got to be the Niners that everybody knows that, we are. And it kind of get frustrating at times when you don't win those games. And you kind of be like, yo, like, why we keep putting ourselves in these positions and, like, putting our back against the wall. And now every game that we play, it's just like, you got to treat it like your last. Even though you treat every game like that, but it's really like, yo, if we don't win this game, then, we'll be in some trouble.
What do you give me for a little Terrell Owens?
I'm a big T.O. fan. I ain't mad at that. But nothing's like... Wow. See, now the Ernie comments starting to set in. But listen,
it's only because you said Willard and Dibb said it.
Yeah, Roy and San Leandro sounded like Willie Mays. That's a close one.
Oh, that was you, wasn't it?
Yes.
My bad. That was Evan who said that about Debo Samuel.
I'm going to say this and tell me if I'm piling on, guys. Evan, chime in, man. There was a day when if Debo didn't play in a game, you'd be like, this is going to be an uphill battle, this offense. Steiny, now if you told me he wasn't playing, it's almost like a nothing burger. And I don't know how much to blame him or Kyle have to reinvent how you're using him.
Unbelievable. So why if Debo Samuel has had a role for 5 years and we've all known what the role is, and now he can't perform that role, why is that Kyle's fault? Because Kyle's got to invent. He's got to invent something for him to do that he doesn't know if he can do or not.
No, now it's bigger than Debo. The offense is becoming stagnant.
Are you saying bench Debo?
No, I'm saying Kyle. Maybe Debo's looking bad because Kyle is not going Apple and updating the offense or whatever you're working with.
What do you want him to do? Quit blaming Kyle for Debo's horrible year. You do that all the time, and I'm sick of it.
Now you're struggling. No, Steiny, something. Throw it deep. Don't tell me Purdy can't throw it deep.
I'm telling you, Purdy's strength is not throwing it deep.
So will you give me this? This is not the real Niner offense.
No, it is the real Niner offense. This is the real Niner offense, and stop comparing it to last year's Niner offense.
That's not a long time ago. It's just not.
What if I told you about
February
sports?
Of this year.
What if I told you about sports? It still hasn't sunk in. Sometimes guys get old in a hurry. And that's what I think might be happening to Deebo Samuel.
Okay, but what about
somebody
the defense
right here
is
saying,
catching up with Kyle's offensive plan?
Then that's part of it.
Okay, so you don't just rule that out. I think that's a majority of it.
Kyle Shanahan's, let me tell you, if you think Kyle Shanahan's offense and offensive play calling is the problem, again, this is what I mean. You've got to fire him then. But nobody wants to stay that strong about it.
I know they missed Kittle last week. I know it. But even when Kittle's been in, it's just been ineptitude as a whole.
Okay, Steiny, it's up to Kyle to figure out a new role for Deebo. Okay, tell me what it is. What's the new role?
I would be down Santa Clara if I knew those answers.
Well, there's only so many things you can do. What do you put him at? Oh, you know what? Put him at running back. Like that? Well, I actually wouldn't have a problem with that.
Well, I would, man. He can't even take the pounding anymore. Anytime he gets tackled.
Okay, so now he's got a current role. Let's find a new one for him. How about putting him at running back? Well, no, he can't do that. How about putting him at wide out? Well, no, that's not his strength. Like, okay, you know what? Here's what I think. Make him a tight end. Make him a tight end then. Maybe he can do that.
No, the bottom line, I'm not having fun here.
It's like you can't turn Brock Purdy into Dan Marino.
But I'm just saying, if you look at the contract and the production, this is an issue.
He's getting old. He's almost 29.
And how close are we to their getting old?
We're there. Until proven differently. They're 5-5.
And I'm rooting for McCaffrey, but before I say
him to do what?
There's no boost, there's no burst. Steiny, there's 8 guys on his back. Like, I'm disappointed in the O-line.
Okay, the O-line we're disappointed in.
It's damn near the same O-line as last year, right?
Here's what I mean. O-line we're disappointed in. Purdy we've been disappointed in. McCaffrey we've been disappointed in because he's been hurt. Debo's been a disappointment.
D-line.
Ayuk's had a horrible season. Who's had a good year? How's that? And again, I'm not saying Kyle should skate, but I'm sick of talking about Kyle when we know nothing's going to happen to him. So it's on the players.
And it's not just so much about a penalty or something happening to him, Steiny. It's about him looking himself, and they got time, in the mirror to say, maybe I got to do something else. And I know you're like, well, what does that mean?
Like, let me throw the ball
down the field.
Let me throw this at you. What's the difference between Deebo Samuel and let's say Klay Thompson? Klay Thompson is not the same player he was.
Right.
So if I were to say, well, let's find a new role for Klay Thompson, what the hell would it be? He's a shooter. He's a three-point shooter. What do you got? Let's make him a post-up player. You can't do that. Let's make him a defensive specialist. Can't do that. Let's put him in the high pick and roll. You can't do that. So it's like you gotta work with what you got if your skills are diminishing. And I don't know that they are, but I just know darn well that he does not strike fear in defenses like he did 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
And I think their offense is starting to do that, to mirror that as well. Okay. I don't think Seattle was scared for the Niners going over the top. And I forget, it was a couple days ago, it might have been Baldy or Cosell, that Kyle Shanahan's offense wants the attack in the middle of the field. And I think the jig is up.
Okay.
And you can take that stuff away or make it more difficult. And Kansas City did that in the Super Bowl. Okay. So you got to adjust to the adjustment. And I think, Steiny, you're going to think I'm crazy. It starts with trust. Have Deebo run some different routes. I know, come on, Goo, but it's got to be something.
Put special plays in for Deebo. No, come on, Goo. This guy's run the most prolific offense in the league, and now the players aren't like.
So that's where you're at. 90%. It's just I'm gonna call the same game plan. The guys just gotta. They got to do, but they got to win.
It's a combination of a million things, and Kyle Shanahan, to me, may be one of them. But so's their age. So's the fact that they've gone deep into the play. You know what?